Welcome everybody to All About Articulation, where we do a deeper dive into the articulation of some of your favorite action figures while glossing over things like sculpt, paint apps, character history, accessories, because I suck at that. And there are already so many great reviews on YouTube who do that already, and they do it better than me, so why waste your time? Today we have the Hasbro Marvel Legends Mr. Sinister, not to be confused with Dr. Sinister. He's just Mr. Sinister. He got his bachelor's of arts in Sinisterism, and he said, you know what, I'm good. I'm gonna graduate, find myself a job, enter the working force. No need to get a doctorate degree. Quick thoughts. This is a brand new build. He's an update on a figure that Hasbro. I don't believe Hasbro has made a Mr. Sinister. Check me if I know Toy Biz had one, but I think this is the first sort of release in a long while of Mr. Sinister. It's a brand new build, a brand new buck, and a couple of quick thoughts off the top. It's a great figure. Because he's a new build, there's really no other action figures there's no other figures in the Marvel Legends line to compare him to. So I wanted to sort of play around with him more. I know he was released a couple months ago, but I wanted to really play with him a little bit, really pose him, really fiddle around with him, and see just exactly what is good and what's not so good about the articulation of this particular figure. Right off the bat, he stands at a really solid, I would say, 7 inches from the very tip of from his hair to his feet, exactly 7 inches. Bam, right there. Let's do a quick wingspan. He's at the wingspan of from knuckle to fingertip, about 7 1/4, maybe a little bit more if you are able to swap out his right fist and find like a dark colored open hand for that arm. Yeah, so we're gonna go from head to toe. He's got great upward articulation. Even though you have that big giant collar, it doesn't hinder the articulation to the point where he can't look up, so he gets great upward motion. And if you wanted to bend it back, you can even get it a little bit further. Actually, it doesn't look that bad when you pop the collar a little bit. The collar, the shoulder pads, the cape, it's all very, very soft, very, very pliable plastic, which I still don't know why to this day they don't make action figures who have longer hair, like a Thor or any of the female characters. Make it with this type of material, so then it doesn't hinder articulation. Look how well that bends. Look how well that bends. If you had hair made out of this material, you would never have a lack of articulation for the head. All right, that's just my 2 cents. So he goes all the way down, he goes all the way up. A good deal. The cape does kind of come off, but I'll get to that in a second. He does look all in both directions. Doesn't really get too much hindrance with the collar. Although, like I said, if you want to push it back, he gets more. All right. He gets great shoulder articulation. It goes all the way up. Like I said, the shoulder pads are very soft plastic, almost like a rubbery feel to it. So you're not going to get a lot of restriction of movement there. That's his hot tub pose. Goes all the way up that high. Alright, you want to stay off? You stay off. Actually, it's better if we do the articulation review with the cape off, so then you get a really good sense of just how articulated he could get. He does have bicep swivel. This is articulation 101. All action figures have this, so there's no really need to go into that. Double jointed elbows. Just how double jointed is it? He gets a good, let's see, 90, I would say about 45. And he can raise his arms all the way up, so the shoulder pad doesn't hinder the sideways articulation of the shoulder. Neither does it articulate the forward raise of the articulation. So he can go both out and forward. and his arms come together that much. There's no butterfly joint, so lest anyone think there's a butterfly joint, there is not. All right, and so the wrist, no problems there. Nothing special to point out. We can move right along. He's got the ab crunch, the standard typical ab crunch that most Marvel Legends have, as you can see in the back. It's not that ball joint that a lot of figures have nowadays. He's just the clicky wheel. So it's one click down, goes down that far, and the extension goes not too far back, but that's okay. And of course, he could swivel all the way around. The belt is not floating. All right, it's stuck to the upper torso area, right below the abs. So it does not float, but it doesn't hinder articulation either. It's very good. It's nice. It's good engineering. Stays out the way. He gets a split, goes far down that much. Sideways split, forward split, not so much. Hey, he can kick a good amount forward, but the backward kick is almost nil. But he can get a good sideways split, and this is his Glenn Webb split, with the figure going down as far as he possibly can, with both feet flat on the floor. All right, double jointed knees can go up that far. Not quite kicking his butt, but pretty good. I mean, listen, it's Mr. Sinister. You know what I mean? Like I always say, contextual articulation. It has to fit within the context of the character. If it doesn't fit within the context of the character, then what's the point? He doesn't really need to have Spider-Man level articulation. He's a sinister dude. He's the big boss, big baddie. What else can I tell you? Ankle pivot. He's got a lower, very, very low, almost like an ankle. It's so far down, it's almost, I would dare say it's an ankle cut. But it's very, very low boot cut. And he has an upper thigh swivel. Again, not very upper thigh, almost like a mid-thigh swivel. But it goes all the way around. The boots, I don't know what you call that. The little fin of the boot sticks up over there, but does not hinder articulation in any way, shape, or form. So that's really cool. And yeah, last but not least, okay, so I wanted to get back to this really, really sort of involved. I wouldn't call it an accessory. It's his cape. The cape is not supposed to come off. I took it off with a little bit of an X-Acto knife. It's a very sharp knife that I just got. I got in there, and I was able to cut it out. And as you can see, you can put it back at any time. So it's replaceable. It's not meant to be taken off. All right, but with a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of with a little bit of care, you can take it off and put it back on at will. If you want to take it off and you want to keep it back on, a little bit of glue, a little bit of either you want to use a little bit of crazy glue or a little bit of hot glue, it'll stick it right back in there. No worries. Like I said, it's very, very soft, it's very, very pliable, and it does come separated. It's a cut with each, well, not every strand. It's 2 layers, so there's one here, one here. All right, and each strand is some of them are connected down low, some of them are not. What this does is that it's very heavy, so a lot of times you might have some issues standing the figure, but it's supposed to be, in the comics, it's supposed to be, each strand is supposed to be individual. But what they did here is that they connected some of them, and they did that, I'm going to guess that they did that purposefully, because knowing how heavy this cape is, it's going to tilt the figure back when you place him, when you stand him. But if you connect some of these strands together in more of like a uniform curtain, it can then act as a sort of stand in a lot of ways. So he could kind of lean on his cape, as you can see here. Now, if each one of these strands were individual, it would not have the same, I guess, integrity that would hold the figure up. But because some of them are connected and attached, you have a lot more, it's a lot more sturdy. So I'm going to give Hasbro the benefit of the doubt here and say that they did that. They had the foresight to make it this way. So kudos to Hasbro. Good for you. Good on you. All right. Now, last but not least, I did all the measurements, right? I got that out the way. Last but not least, this is a brand new mold, so there's really no other body mold to compare it to. One of the best figures, in my opinion, one of the best molds that came out recently is the Omega Red body mold. And as you can see, they're very similar. I would say Omega Red is a little bit bulkier, he's a little bit wider, but in terms of height, they're pretty much exactly the same. I mean, if you look at eye level, they're, eye to eye. If you look at the hair, the top of the head, they're pretty much exact also, with the exception of maybe Omega Red's. He has poofier hair, so it looks a little taller. Omega Red probably has. No, I would say they're about the same. I would almost say the shoulder height is probably higher Omega Red, but that's only because he has those bigger shoulder pads. But for sure, he's the more muscular figure. And last but not least, he does have, I would say, slightly better articulation because he does have the butterfly joints, and Mr. Sinister does not. So comparing him to some of the other, and I don't know why they don't use this body mold more. I mean, hello, Warpath, hello, Mr. Sinister, hello, Cable. I mean, this body mold is just screaming to be used. And so far, since the Omega Red's release in the Sauron Build-A-Figure wave, it's only been one figure using this mold. Don't know why. And another, just give you guys a point of reference, another overused and larger, air quotes, larger body mold that Hasbro loves using for the Marvel Legends line is the Hyperion mold, brought to you by Hyperion, the actual Hyperion figure. A lot of people like to use different figures to illustrate the Hyperion mold, but they never, if rarely ever, use the Hyperion figure himself. Well, here you go. As you can tell, he is, I'm putting him back here, he is a lot shorter than Mrs. Sinister, but he's a lot thicker, he's a lot bulkier. So there you have it. All right, Mr. Sinister. Peace out, everybody.